Fabulous Frozen Belle was always annoyed with clanners. She simply hated them. Not only are they idiotic and violent, in her opinion, but there was one incident she had with a clan that she'd never forget. Fabulous never understood why clanners would use wolves instead of real cats for clans. Wolves looked nothing like cats. Also, she hated how violent they were. They would even kill other jammers. So one day, she decided to patrol around Jama, waiting for a jammer to advertise a clan. Until that one day when she saw a black and gray member wolf with a sword and a fox hat shouting, "Win clan, my den!" Fabulous smirked and saw the opportunity to troll clanners, which was what she loved doing. She constantly annoyed, questioned, and sometimes even insulted them for pleasure. So Fabulous, as her tiger, went to that jammer's den. The den was a volcano den, with dark wallpaper and furniture that was very clan-like. There were many jammers there. What disgusted her was that all of them were wolves wearing fox hat, bows and arrows, elf bracelets, swords, and headdresses. Fabulous scoffed and started dancing her special tiger dance, yelling, "Tigers make better warrior cats, and warrior cats don't wear fox hats and swords." The warrior wolves stared at her in disgust and whispered to each other, "Who does she think she is? She should go grovel to Two Legs for all I care. What a mouse-brained dumb kitty pet." Fabulous was barely stung by the insults as she danced and shouted more. Just then, the leader of the clan, who happened to be the wolf advertising the clan, stepped forward and growled. He leaned forward to her and said, "Why don't you just go and fly to the moon with your 2 legs, kitty pet?" "I'm not a kitty pet. I'm simply a warrior cat wanting to join a clan," Fabulous replied. "You are not a cat. You're just a lump of fur with a girly name dancing like an idiot," the leader growled. Fabulous then stumbled and tripped over her paws on the stone floor. She looked up at the wolf, who was glaring at her with pure hatred. The other wolves smirked and continued their leader's retorts. "Yeah, you piece of mouse dung. You dance like a two-toed fox. Cat, huh? With that flat muscle and those short ears, with those fat paws and skinny tail. I bet you're the worst dancer with paws like that. You don't belong here. Go and eat 2-legged sledge, you striped freak. You're not a warrior." Fabulous had not been insulted as bad as this. She found that tears were flowing from her eyes onto the ground. She wiped her eyes with a paw and stood up shaking. "Aw, does the little kitty pet need her 2 legs to cuddle her?" A wolf sneered at her and pushed her. "Go on, stay with your 2-leg friends. I bet they'd love to feed you so much you'll be too fat to pounce." The wolves giggled at this remark. Fabulous stood up and dashed out the den, away from sniggering warriors and all the way to her den, where she broke down in sobs. You might think that she had learned her lesson, but a month later, she plotted revenge. By then, Fabulous had earned herself a beautifully polished sword from the adventurers. If they insulted her again, she'll respond with violence. Then they'll know how it feels. She remembered where the leader's den was, so she ventured there and braced herself for taunts. If they did, her paw would stray to her sword. She found the wolves sitting together, most likely having a clan meeting. A white and pale gray wolf wearing bow and arrows and a fox hat saw her and barked, "Intruder!" The black and dark gray leader spotted her, and a low growl sounded in his throat. He stood up and padded over to her. "So you're back, eh, kitty pet? How are your 2 legs doing?" He smirked and twitched an ear. The rest of the wolves got up and smiled evilly at the tiger. The pale wolf who had called her out before came up to the leader and muttered, "What should we do with her, Dark Star?" The leader wolf replied, I'll make sure she gets what she deserves. Stay back, Grey Claw." "Yes, Dark Star." He dipped his head and backed away in the swarm of other wolves. "Thank you, my loyal deputy. Now, as for you, kitty pet." Before he could finish his sentence, Fabulous had unsheathed the sword resting on her back and sliced his face. A large cut oozed blood onto the floor. Dark Star snarled. "Oh, so you want to fight me then, eh?" Fabulous retorted, "You will humiliate me no longer. I won't stand for this. So you could be a real warrior or a mouse-hearted coward." The other wolves gasped at this remark. "No one calls the leader a coward," a warrior wolf whispered to his clanmate. The clanmate replied, "Hopefully, Darkstar will finish her off." The dark wolf then sheathed razor-like claws and declared, "If it's a fight you want, It's a fight you'll get. He crouched to the floor and pounced on top of her. He slashed his claws where he could. He grinned at the sight of blood flowing freely from the tiger's wounds. Fabulous lashed out at him as well and bit his ear, almost tearing half of it off. The wolf yelped in pain and responded by clawing her face and latching his teeth around her throat. Through a mouthful of thick fur, he mumbled, "You could surrender, kitty pet, or you could die for what you've done." Fabulous strained against the teeth tearing away the flesh at her neck. "I've done nothing! You and your sniveling warriors insulted me, hurt me, treated me like dirt, and you say it's my fault? You disturbed us, interrupting clan business. Your thick-headed self couldn't leave us alone. You made a big mistake messing with us." Fabulous let out an ear-piercing shriek as his teeth completely crushed her throat. Blood welled out of her neck as she slumped to the floor. Darkstar grinned and turned to his warriors, watching them chuckle with glee. Greyclaw stepped forward and implied, "She was a feisty one, wasn't she? Or a kitty pet?" Darkstar nodded and replied with a sneer, "Yes, she was. I think she learned her lesson now, in death." Now, my friends, you are aware of the tragic death of Fabulous Frozenbell, the jammer who hated clanners. If only she had left them alone, then she wouldn't have paid for her actions in death. Now you know. Never mess with clanners.